I'm Kalu, and welcome to Soul Chats.
Even the spiders take their time, winding their webs with delicate threads, and we can sit and watch as the moon rises, and an army of clouds climb over the mountains as peaceful as a fallen tree, and as wild as a sycamore seed.
Hi friends, welcome back to Soul Chats. I feel like I've kind of been a bit MIA the past few weeks because I kind of have been. I actually got my wisdom teeth removed a couple weeks ago. I think I mentioned that a couple episodes ago. But that was a tougher recovery than expected. And then I started my first week of grad school, which also means the first week of a new job because I kind of have a job attached to my master's program. So it's super awesome and super great, just kind of an overwhelming few weeks. So I kind of had to put Soul Chats on the back burner for a minute, but I'm super excited to kind of dive back in and chat with more people like today's guest, Sophia/Phia. Phia is honestly just one of the wisest souls I've had the pleasure of meeting. So I really, really appreciated this chat with her on uncertainty in a time that just feels more uncertain than ever. So I would highly, highly recommend checking her out and following her on her socials. We kind of talk a bit more about who she is, but she is an amazing, amazing musician and a breathwork practitioner, and I just think you're all going to love her. Per usual, you can find info on our guests either on our website, soulchatsbycatherine.com, or on our Instagram at soul.chats, which if you don't already follow us on, please do, because it's super fun to kind of get your guys' feedback and interact with you a bit more on there as well. Also, just a heads up, I feel like I curse a bit more than usual on this episode, and I kind of went back and forth on whether I wanted to edit that out or not, but I decided to just kind of go for it. Sorry if that's uncomfortable for everyone. I just have a bit of a potty mouth, and it's nothing too... It's not like in a negative context, it's just me being very passionate and emotional, but I hope you don't mind, so just a quick heads up on that. And yeah, I think that's everything. So I really, really hope you enjoy this episode. Okay. Hi, Phia. Right, that's Phia?
Yeah,
Okay.
Phia.
Because I was used to call you Sophia, and I'm like, wait, I'm sorry.
Literally, it's whatever you want to call me.
Well, hi, Phia. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
When I was like making my list of people, like before I even launched the show, I had kind of like a list of people where I'm like, okay, I definitely reach out to these people and stuff. Like you were on that list since the beginning. So like, I'm especially looking forward to this chat because I think it's just going to be absolutely amazing.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
So first things first, how is your soul doing?
My soul is, I always kind of like to put like a color and like an affirmation to these things. So
that.
today I'm feeling like my soul is yellow. That's going to be the color today. And so I'm feeling very much like creative, full of light, inspired, excited for this conversation. There's a lot of, I'll just say, very much not light things going on right now. So I try to at least keep my, inner home in that energy, just because if I don't, it's, chaotic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm totally going to steal that color.
Yeah.
I love that. Because that's such a good way of like explaining what's going on with the soul right now. And I'm glad it's yellow because I feel like a lot of the times lately, a lot of people haven't been able to tap into those colors. It's been a lot more darker stuff. So like, I'm glad to hear that you're doing okay and like still being able to tap into that yellow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Is your soul, how is your soul?
You're very kind to ask. Thank you.
No, of course.
I don't know what color it is, to be honest with you. I'm going to have to think about that because I like the color thing. I think right now it's It's good. It's, I think, adjusting. I started off the semester last week and I got my wisdom teeth out. I started masters. I started a new job with my master's program.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm in a newer space and I'm quarantined. So just kind of figuring out the new normal. So I think my like soul is just trying to find the new, I don't like using the word normal, but like the new routine or the new, home. Let's go with that. But yeah, thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
Of course.
So I would love to tell people how we met. We were kind of talking about it before we started recording and stuff, but we have kind of a more unique of a relationship, air quotes, I would say. Like it's pretty atypical for me amongst like my other relationships and stuff. But there was a blog. I don't know what they're even classified as.
I don't know either.
Okay. So they're called the Messy Heads. And they like had a blog, they had a YouTube. Like it was, I think, like a group of girls that were just like creatives and like trying to cultivate this community. And it was super cool and awesome. And I was like really obsessed with them in high school. And they had like this whole tour where they just like went to different cities and like just like got that community in person to like encourage people to, I don't know, build that. And I met you there. And you were just telling me you didn't even like know who they were, right?
Yes, that is correct. Well, yeah. So my friend Magda, she was working with, I don't know if it was all of them or just with one of them. I'm honestly, it was like 4.5 years ago. Yeah. So I'm like, it's been some time. So I'm trying to recall. But no, she told me like, oh, they're doing this meetup in LA. And like, I told like, Isabel, which one, whatever.
Izzy, we'll go with Izzy.
Yeah, Izzy. Yeah. Love her energy. Only met her, I think, that one time. But she was like, oh, I told Izzy, or whatever, that I wanted to go and that, you're my friend, you're going to go. And I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm going. And I brought my friend Caitlin and we just had such a good time because we're very much just people that, we're like, okay, great. Like we're going to get to just be meeting, new, wonderful, incredible people. And it's women and, it's like a safe space and it was on the beach. Yeah. So that was really nice. And yeah, I literally the little group that those of us formed, I still follow like every single one of those girls. So it's crazy. And I love seeing everyone grow. It's so cute.
I know. It's so sweet. And I remember because I was like a senior in high school and we were like introducing ourselves to each other, whatever. And I was like, yeah, like I'm going to go to Chapman in the fall. And you were like, oh my gosh, I went to Chapman. And I was like, oh, this girl's so cool. Like she's awesome. And I remember like you were talking a lot about your voice and your passion for singing. And for song and music and creation. I don't know however you define that. And I was like, this girl is the coolest. And then I found out you were like a poli-sci major too. And I was a poli-sci major at Chapman. And I was like, oh, this is the girl I want to be. And like, at post-grad, like 5 years.
So nice. I'm like, what?
I was low-key obsessed with you. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my God. She was the sweetest. That's so cute.
And then we just followed each other. And then we just like kept popping and tweet. Like we weren't like consistently communicating and stuff. But then I think the next time I saw you was at a conference or at an event, I don't know what you would call it, but with I Am That Girl, which is a really awesome nonprofit organization all about empowering not just women, but especially women. And I literally, like, you were volunteering there and I was there and I was like, oh my gosh, hi. Like, it's just so random. So nice to see your face.
Yeah, I was handing out the fun Levi's jean jackets. I had so much fun. Literally, I was like, I'm like, whatever, just anything that's empowering. Because I was an I Am That Girl at Chapman, like, for a second.
Okay.
I think it was like junior year or something. And then I just sadly fell off the wagon. Even though I loved it, I just kind of was in my own little world at that point and was just super only focused on like school, classes, and then music. And that was like pretty much it.
Sure.
But yeah, I remember like I somehow got an email or one of my friends was like, oh, they need volunteers for this event in LA this weekend. And I'm like, let's do it. And I had so much fun.
That's so
And I got to see you. It was so funny.
I know. That's so funny because I Am That Girl was like such a huge part of my like undergrad experience. Like I was on exec all 4 years, and like it literally for freshman year, it's honestly like what kept me at Chapman. Like I had a harder time, and like and I feel like that makes so much sense because I feel like one of the things I really admire about you is like you're a very soulful person. Like you're just very passionate and intentional and very vulnerable and honest and open. Like that's what I love so much about you, and that's literally what those meetings were all about. So that just makes total sense that we would both kind of be drawn to that energy.
Totally.
And then I think I saw you like one more time. You invited me to like your friend's like EP release or something, and I was like, hey, and you were like, hey, like thanks for coming. And then I don't think I've like seen you since then, and that was like
almost 4 years ago. Yeah, like 3.5 years ago. Yeah.
But like I was telling you, like I was like, I feel like you're one of my good friends. Like I feel like I know you, and like you're such like an inspirational light on.
You're seriously the cutest. Oh my god, you're so sweet.
It's all the truth. But
you've always been literally like since the moment I met you. I remember you were just like the smiliest like ray of light, truly. And I'm not just saying. I mean, I'm like, you know, you are the same as well right now. And literally, I just remember thinking that I was just like, wait, she is so adorable. Like I love her. And then you're like, I'm going to Chapman. I was like, oh my god, yay!
It's just so funny how our like life paths kind of just, I don't know,
totally
synced up like that a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of how we connected. And I want to be your best friend, and hopefully post quarantine we can grab coffee or something.
Oh my god, girl, of course.
Awesome. For now, I'm glad we could just chat, and there's Zoom and stuff to keep us all connected. But yeah, so that's awesome how we met. But I would love for people to know a bit more about you and kind of who you are and what your story is.
Well, that's a long one. No, I'm kidding. I'll keep it short.
Go off.
But yeah, so yeah, my name's Sophia. You can call me Phia as well. That's just a nickname. That's one of my artists. Not one of my. What am I saying? That is my artist name. I have all these secret artist projects. No, not really. So that's my artist name, Phia Z. And yeah, I just chose that because my last name is a very long Greek last name that no one can ever say. So we just drop it and leave it at a Z. I'm a breathwork practitioner and then singer-songwriter. But really, you know, when you met me, I wasn't doing breathwork. I think I was just about to enter into that phase of my life, but I had no idea, which I always love thinking about that. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I had been doing music truly forever, like my whole life since I was a little girl. Started writing songs when I was 10. That was my therapy for me. I am a Cancer sun, a Pisces moon, a rising Sag. So I am super sensitive.
Going on there?
Yeah. Super sensitive with a little bit of fire. And like most of my chart is water. So now I'm able to understand myself so much better than I could at that age. But when I was younger, I just had all these emotions, and I love my parents so much, but I think they were like, we don't know what to do with this child. So I just started writing songs. And, you know, kind of the next year that I started writing songs, I was diagnosed with a blood disease. And that was like a very traumatic point in my life just because, I mean, yeah, just the things that I saw and like having to go to doctor's appointments all the time. It was just a very kind of like scary point in my life. So writing songs truly saved me. So you know, music has always been it for me. And then, I went to Chapman for political science. I just fast forwarded through like 8 years of my life after that, which is fine. But yeah, I went to, I first went to USF though. So I went to University of San Francisco for 2 years. And then I transferred, full of surprises. And then I transferred to Chapman going into my junior year. And that decision was primarily made due to wanting to be near LA, but not fully in LA yet. And I'm going to sound a bit dramatic right now, but San Francisco, like you do not get a lot of sun there. And everyone thinks, you know, like, oh, it's California. It's not cold. it is so damn cold. And the summers are so cold. And Carl, the fog rolls in and your whole day is just absolutely ruined. So for me, it's just, you know, I appreciated it. I met my amazing friends there. I made most of my close friends from college at USF. So kind of when I went to Chapman, like but I met a few wonderful people and I've kind of stayed friends with those people. But I pretty much had my college friends at USF and was like, all right, I'm content. I don't need to, you know, rush a sorority or do anything else intense. But yeah, majored in political science and graduated, moved to LA, was going through an extremely low point in my life, was very depressed, really wasn't even sure if I still kind of wanted to be here because I was dealing with a lot of personal matters at the time. And yeah, just pretty much I say it as like the timeline of what I expected my life to be was so off. And I've always had an issue with expectations and when they don't match up with my reality. Yeah.
Snaps hard to that.
Yeah. And that it was a huge shift from where I thought I was going to be when I graduated college, because I was under the impression of, okay, I graduated, I loved school, but it wasn't entirely what I wanted to be focusing on. I wanted to just be focusing on music. And so pretty much the deal was with my parents, you know, if you graduate college, then like we'll allow you to focus on music after. And then a lot of other things happened, which I'm grateful for because life is full of lessons, as we all know. And
absolutely,
that's really all it is. It's just learning lessons is what I've realized. But basically along that road, I started just diving into being vegan. So I did love that, you know, the Messy Head Girls promoted like veganism or like being plant-based. And they were really about like discussing that a lot. And I thought that was really neat. Not saying everyone should do that, you know, diet, because I'm definitely not vegan anymore, but I'm plant-based. I'll just say
awesome.
I'm plant-based. Yeah. Cause sometimes I'm just like, I need some fish. So it is what it is. Yeah. I just try to be more of like an intuitive eater, I guess, if that makes sense. And
100%.
doesn't sound like an annoying label, but it just is what it is. So yeah, dove into all of that. And then pretty much discovered I was already meditating, but I was never introduced to breathwork meditation, which is what I teach now. And I walked into my first class, I guess it would be 4 years ago or like 3.5 years ago. And I had so much anxiety, honestly, from, it sounds funny, but from personal life stuff, but also from the 2016 election. It really messed me up.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying to take all the measures right now and get ready for whatever outcome we have for this one in 2 months. Because I cannot go back to that state that I was in. So yeah, pretty much just discovered, you know, okay, I need to be meditating every day. I was already journaling every day at the time, and then walked into breathwork and was like, holy F, my entire life just changed in a 45-minute time period. Wow. And I just became really into going to classes every single week. And then pretty much along the way, a teacher came up to me and was like, I don't know why, but I feel intuitively called just to tell you that you should do breathwork training with my mentor. And I thought they were honestly crazy. I was like, wait, why? I'm like, why would I do this?
Why me?
Like, yeah, I'm like, I'm a singer, but I was like, I mean, I guess, because I did notice that obviously I was helping to really relearn how to breathe and new breathing patterns. So it was actually really helping my support for my voice as well. So I thought, okay, maybe I can learn more about, you know, like the science or something behind it. And I can learn about it that way and apply it to my own situation. And then here we are a few years later, and I'm a teacher. So that's what it is. And yeah, I started teaching at the Den meditation in LA. And then at a few other studios as well in the area. And then now I'm just back with the Den. And then I teach classes on my own called Heal Your Shit. Very fun.
I love that.
Thanks. And yeah, just focusing on music right now. I hope that wasn't too long.
No.
I just took you through like a little mini journey of my life.
No, I absolutely love that. I did not know a lot of that. So that's super awesome that you, like, I think it's so funny how, like, you would have never thought you'd be like a breathwork meditation. What's the title for that? Like
I say breathwork practitioner or breathwork guide.
Okay. Like, who would have thought that's what you'd be doing right now?
Truly, who would have thought?
It's just those things like kind of like, I never thought I'd be getting my master's. I never thought I would do that. And now I'm like, okay, here we are. Like, it's just the things that I think of it as like fate kind of seeping in. It's the things you just never expected that kind of just fall into your lap. And it almost just doesn't feel like it was a choice. It was kind of just, this is it now. And you're like, okay, like, I guess that's it now. And it's just funny to see how fate plays out in life. So that's super cool to hear that that's what you're doing.
There's a really great book called The Surrender Experiment.
Okay.
And he also wrote Untethered Soul, which most people know Untethered Soul.
Yeah.
The Surrender Experiment, he talks about his whole life and how pretty much like what you just said, you don't know you're going to do all these things, but if you're pretty much just at a point where you don't have another choice and you like have to say yes to whatever is coming up in your life. And it's just fate. And so he obviously says, he just surrenders to the new opportunities that come up and just says yes and sees where they take him in his life. It's pretty incredible. I highly recommend you read it.
I would read. That's awesome. I did not know it existed. I'll definitely check it out because that sounds very cool. Thank you. So that's kind of a perfect segue into kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So when I'd asked you kind of like, okay, like what's something you're passionate about or something that's been on your mind a lot lately, you gave a few things you're thinking about a lot, which I love. But one of them was leaning into the uncertainty of this time and utilizing it to show you what you need to release / change / focus your time more on. Which I'm always the type of person that looks at the silver lining of things. So I love how you are kind of doing that with quarantine right now. Like, you're like, okay, like can be a good thing if we do it intentionally and such. So I'm wondering, like, why is it exactly that specifically has been kind of on your mind a lot lately?
Well, I like what you just said. Doing everything intentionally, and that's the biggest word for me right there. It's just like, what are your intentions behind everything that you do? So I really think, this time, I mean, it's absolute chaos. No one needs to I'm not saying anything new by saying that, obviously, but the thing that I just realized, the way that I personally feel I need to get through it is by realizing what are my intentions every day. And, waking up and asking myself, like, how do I truthfully feel today? And there's certain things that I understand on your schedule that can't really be moved around, but some things can. If you feel like you're not really, in a position to be on Zoom for like 4 hours with your family or your friends. At the beginning of quarantine, everyone wanted to be FaceTiming, Zoom, doing like those online games or whatever they were.
Totally.
I'm sorry if any of my friends listen to this and take offense to this, but like, that is not me. I love them so much, but I just feel like that gets to be so exhausting when it was like every single day people wanted to do that with, and catch up and like
all the time,
Zoom or something. And sometimes I'm like, I would just love to call you while I'm on a walk outside, just something different. Yeah. But I think it's just the difference of like, what is my intention today? How am I living? And that for me has just made it a bit easier. So, even I shared with you before this, but I was saying how I've really just been kind of listening to anything that my body really wants me to do moment by moment during all of this. And so before this interview, I said, you know what? My inner child needs a little bit of some love right now. We're going to turn on a rerun of Lizzie McGuire. They're 20-minute episodes. And honestly, it's what makes my inner child so happy because I loved that show. Hilary Duff is still my queen to this day.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's just like, obviously that's something silly and that's not a priority, but it's just more like listening and understanding that for me, this time doesn't need to be, oh my gosh, I'm writing my I don't know, Emmy award winning script. I'm writing my book. I'm doing this. That's amazing if you are doing that. But if you're not, and you're just like moving through all of your emotions and you feel like the world is obviously not in the best condition right now, far from it, and it's too much for you emotionally, then like, okay, journal, sit with it, do whatever is going to make you feel better to process those emotions and what you're feeling so that you can begin to slowly move through it. But I'm all for like, I'm never going to tell someone like, well, like you should just power through it and just keep going and work on all this stuff because people get tired and fatigued and then you're burnt out.
100%.
So, I don't know if that made sense, but
that made total sense. No, I love that. So like, I feel like for me, like my quarantine, like journey, that's so cheesy nowadays to say that, but I don't know how else to word it. But I feel like in the beginning, that was kind of a lot of my like, okay, be intentional, take this time to like, like not do all these things in like a productive sense. Like, yes, for sure in some ways, but also like be productive just with my mental health and with like setting up these habits that are healthy and good and intentional and positive. But for me personally, that also kind of became a chore in itself, to be honest with you. Like I was like, I want to do all of these things. And like, I was like, okay, this is like unrealistic now. And I feel like I almost burned myself out a bit with like how intentional and how intuitive and all that I was being. And I'm just kind of curious to hear like what kind of your, again, quarantine journey has kind of been. And like, I know you were saying in the beginning, like, I'm so over FaceTiming and Zooming and all that, and kind of like how that's developed over the last 6 months.
I can't even believe it's been 6 months.
I know.
And everyone's like, oh, can't wait for 2021. I'm like, it's not going to magically go away, but okay, sounds good. But anyways, so my quarantine journey, I guess, at the beginning of March, I was super focused on breathwork and really figuring out how I was going to shift from in-person classes to online. And I think it's so funny. I was laughing with my cousin about this last night, how at the beginning of quarantine, we're like, oh, 2 weeks, we can do this, like 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I remember my roommate, Aspen, she said that her company said it could last anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. And when she told me that, I'm like, 2 months. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, there's no way. Well, here we are 6 months later.
Yep.
But honestly, it really hasn't been, whatever. I still hate being inside and being with themselves, but I love my alone time. So it's not an issue. Okay. So my quarantine journey, I feel like I was so focused on pretty much money at the beginning of it. Just to be honest, it was like, okay, how am I going to be making money when my pay is cut in half now? And like the first 2 weeks, I still had a regular amount of classes. And then I got laid off by one of my meditation studios because of COVID. And it just was very startling, confusing. And then I was pretty upset as well because I was going from teaching pretty much every day. There was only, I believe, I'm trying to rethink of my old schedule. I believe I only didn't teach on Tuesdays. So on Tuesdays were the only day that I wasn't getting at least like 20 hugs. And I know this sounds so ridiculous, but teaching classes, especially on the days when I had multiple classes. On Mondays, I used to teach 3 classes, 1 in the morning in Malibu, 1 right at 12 in West Hollywood, and then 1 at 9 p.m. in West Hollywood. So sometimes there would be, like a few people in the morning, 20 people at 12 p.m., 25 people at 9 p.m. So I'm getting around like 50 hugs that day. And I know this sounds so weird, but I had such an issue being like, oh my gosh, I don't get to hug people every day now. And I realized how tied I was to like physical, touch and affection, and just the energy of connecting with people that way after class. So it still is weird. I mean, when I teach the online classes, I can't see anyone. They can just see me. I can just see the names of people who are on. They can chat with me through the box. And if they're my friends or if they're clients who know me and they, maybe message me on Instagram later, that's one thing. But it is weird to not see their faces, especially if they're new people. And I'm like, hope you liked it, because I have no idea if you're doing okay. Because that was my biggest thing. I always said after class, please talk to me. Like if anything came up, and you're upset or this or that, please talk to me.
Yeah.
And it's weird figuring that out now. So we'll see.
Feedback is non-existent.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. So I was very focused on breathwork at the beginning, in much more of that hustle mentality, because we didn't know it was going to go on for this long. So I'm thinking, perfect. I need, right now just to really work on myself, work on getting everything organized. And then once I realized it was kind of going on for longer, that's when I kind of just frankly crashed and was like, I don't see a lot of light at the moment, and that's okay because I want to be in that. And then honestly, when the George Floyd murder occurred, I stopped everything because this is just my belief. My focus was primarily on just how can I listen and support,
Absolutely.
everyone, instead of, we don't need another white voice speaking up. Honestly, we don't need me. So I just wanted to shut up and listen, like that talk show Lily has from Princess Diaries. Honestly, I truly, I love that movie so much. Early 2000s nostalgia is just it for me. But that was just kind of my main focus. I feel like definitely end of May, all through June and July. So August, I have started to get a little bit more back into myself and my music, and trying to find a balance while still remaining informed, educating myself, unlearning, doing everything that I can, because it didn't go away. The issues, nothing went away.
Absolutely.
It's honestly still getting worse, but it's just really trying to figure out balance. That's just the main word. And again, if any friends are listening to this at some point, I definitely have pulled back from a lot of relationships just because there's been a lot going on, and I just really felt like I needed to go inward a lot more and really just kind of see what was going on with myself, and really focus on my own health and my family as well. So that's just kind of been my main priority as of now. We're 6 months down. Who knows where we'll be in 6 more months.
Hopefully in a better place.
Let's truly manifest that.
Let's manifest that hard. So in terms of kind of uncertainty, I know this is, I don't know, because I was kind of thinking about it and I was like, what's different in terms of uncertainty that we didn't have before this quarantine? Like,
People like to think, okay, I'll rephrase this. People thought that they had much more control over their lives than they actually do. And I think why so many people have freaked out during this time is because they realize that they don't have control over the majority of their life. And they thought they kind of just created this false narrative in their mind that they did, which, not saying I'm not one of those people, but definitely the last few years, I realized the things that I can control and that I can't much more. And I really can't control a whole lot, to be honest. And I think we all are waking up to that, notion now. And I think that's been the biggest thing, and even why I pulled back from a lot of things the last few months is because I realized, what can I control? I can only control myself, like my reactions, and I guess what I am doing day to day. But uncertainty, I don't know what's happening with the world even in an hour. I have no idea what's going on, what news is going to pop up, and I'm going to just hit my head again against a wall. I have no idea. So there's just this constant, it is almost just surrendering to the unknown and being like, okay, I guess this is also happening. Like all of the fires now that are happening in California and in Oregon now, it's like, oh, can anyone catch a break now?
No.
I have no idea.
2020 is coming for us.
Yeah. And even, I was just looking up in Greece right now, a fire broke out at a migrant camp. And so that concerns me, obviously, because I'm Greek American and I always like to see what's going on in Greece. And so it's just, it's just all over at this point. And it is very disheartening. And I understand why people need to tune it out. I totally get it. But I do feel like people really just feel like they need to control something in their lives. And that's where a lot of like outbursts of anger, repressed emotions are coming from right now. So it's especially, I'll say this too, astrologically, Mars retrograde just hit today and it occurs for 2 months. Okay. So during that time, it's much more like outbursts, like, projects. Sometimes you want to speed up the pace of a project, but you're going to keep getting kind of like blockages during this time. And it's going to feel very frustrating. Just got to move really slowly, watch like what you're texting, what you're communicating, and just make sure it's very thoughtful. Did this already happen to you?
Today, like literally with the soul chats, I was like, oh my God, I need to go viral today. Like that's so crazy. Okay. Wow.
Well, I just saw on Twitter, oh my gosh, I should figure out who it is. It must be Melanated Mama, I believe. But she was saying how, or it was Star Heel. I can always figure that out. But she was saying how during this time, there are certain people who will go up in like fame or something, or they'll have a lot of attention, but then at the end of this retrograde time, so in 2 months, it'll just go down. So it's like a very quick rise and then a quick fall as well. So patience. That's the
I'll wait by 2 months. It's okay.
Yeah. You're like, but come November 10th, no.
You'll know where I'll be. Okay. Interesting.
I don't know if I fully answered your question on uncertainty, but
no, that's perfect. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think, I don't know, I'm one of those people that's always like going back and forth on that whole debate about like free will and like control and fate, like, and how that all combines and kind of our experiences with that in life. Because in a way, I almost feel like, because there's kind of two uncertainties to me, or that I kind of experience, and that's like my internal uncertainty, like that's personal to me in my life. So it's like my life path, plan, whatever. And like pre-COVID, like last year, like my junior year going into my senior year, I had a lot of anxiety about graduating, like just existential crises, like one of the like dark point in my life, trying to figure out like, okay, that like the timeline's over. What the hell am I doing now? And so uncertainty kind of now it's like, because I'm trying to think of how to word this. I think before, like the fact that I had control kind of freaked me out, because I was like, I get to choose now? Like, okay, no more school. Like the world is literally my oyster. Like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I don't know how to be successful in the way that makes me happy. Like the uncertainty of like not knowing what comes next really freaked me out. And then there's kind of like the external uncertainty with the world and such. And like you kind of mentioned, like that's definitely what's going on now. but that's affected my like internal uncertainty. And honestly, like it's kind of helped it in a way. Cause I'm like, we're all in this together. Like the economy sucks. Like there's no jobs. Like we're all stuck at home. Like I know what's going to happen until I get a vaccine. Like I'm doing nothing, or not nothing, but I'm not doing, and again, I hate this world, like normal. So it's interesting because I feel like, yes, there's definitely like, for me personally, like the uncertainty of the outside world. And I think a part of that is privilege for sure. I've been very, very lucky throughout this entire experience for the most part. And that maybe is just me and my privilege speaking, but it's almost like the internal uncertainty is, I don't know, affected by that external uncertainty. Does that make sense?
Completely makes sense.
Okay.
Absolutely makes sense. And I think there still is an uncertainty of our emotions, because even with myself as well, I'll mark down on the calendar, like tomorrow, I want to get all these things done. And then I'll wake up and be like, this past weekend, for example, I was hit with such a wave of anxiety. It was really bad. Hadn't been that bad in I don't know how long, but I had like terrible dreams. They were not even dreams. They were absolute nightmares. And I don't get those that often. And I just felt very off. So this day that I had created in my head that I wrote down, like, this is going to be your schedule. And it was just completely, ruined, because there was no way I was going to just kind of fake it. So there almost is still like an uncertainty of your emotions as well, just because, everything is so, we have no idea. Like I said, I don't know what news is going to happen now. I don't know what's going to go on with anything in the world, truly anything. So that's why it's like, again, what can I control? Okay. My reactions, how I'm responding, how I'm kind of taking care of me. And I know not everyone can control that as well too. It's just like what I feel that I can control. And I think everyone needs to find that for themselves. But it's a lot. It truly is so much. And I think like, just because so many people I keep hearing this, people go, I just want to know when it's over. I just want to know the set date of when we're out of this.
Right.
But I love my family members and my friends who have said that so much. But I always honestly laugh a little bit each time, because I'm like, why do we need that? We always need that answer that, is this person going to like me? Yes or no? Is this going to happen in XYZ? Am I going to be getting this raise in my job in 3 months? Yes or no? People just like need that set like answer in order for them to keep going in their lives. And I think now, because there is no set answer, and it's just everyone's going, wait. Then how do I plan for my future? How do I plan for anything? It's like, we have to keep doing it. We just have to work with what we're getting at the moment and work with every single day. And if we feel like, this is where our attention needs to be one day, great. This is where our attention needs to be the next day, then that's great. I just want everyone to truly take this time to deepen the connection with themselves, because that is the only certainty that I feel we can find.
Amen. Like that. I just got shook. Yeah. Like 100%. I think I so relate to that. And I think the idea of self-love has really, just popped off during this whole thing, because this is when you really need to practice it, because we're so much more isolated, I think, right now. And you're kind of just stuck with yourself, and, spending time with yourself and having to find that fulfillment and contentment within yourself, instead of looking for that external kind of validation or happiness from other people, just because we're not as available to those things because of the situation. But I thought that was so interesting how you kind of mentioned, like, I want people to, I don't know what needs to be done today, like listen to that and listen to I'm assuming you're talking about your intuition. I don't know. I find for me that the intuition's a tricky thing. There are some days where For me, it's a her. I listen to her and she talks to me and I'm like, cool, just go with it, just feel it and go with it. And then there are sometimes weeks where I'm just like, hello, is anyone home? Like, what do I do? What's going on? Like, what's up? I don't know if that's like mental health. I don't know if that's depression. I don't know what that is, but I know you're a very intuitive person, and I know the breath especially is really tied with that intuition. Or at least that's what I found in my experience. Meditation is a huge way for me to kind of tap into that. But I don't know how you yourself kind of listen to that intuition, or how you would kind of recommend people to do that, or I don't know, just any advice on that, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So there's like so many things I could say. But this
Perfect.
is the question that my friends ask me, and then they're like, why did I ask her that? I'm so overwhelmed. I'm like, here's 5,000 books and 5,000 journal topics
Perfect.
and 5,000 meditations you can do. But it's all out of love. I just want everyone to just work on that connection with themselves, because that, I feel, is how I'm able to keep going. But I mean, I think since I was a little girl, I am very grateful that I've been very much in tune with myself and with my emotions, and kind of when I know that certain people aren't good for me, or like they're not showing any signs right now, but I know that like for some reason I'm not meant to be working with them, pursuing them, whatever it is. And sometimes my friends are like, oh, you're being so mean or something. And I'm like, okay, something's off. And like, you can be friends with them, but like, I just personally feel like something is off. And then it's like 3 months later, they're like, oh my God, yeah, this crazy thing happened with this person. And I'm like, yes, I never would say like I'm right, but it was just like, because sometimes I always say I like to be proven wrong as well too. But I definitely think when I was a little girl, like I just remember having that strong sense of intuition in me. And then I definitely know that I lost it for a while. And this is kind of sad, but my dad told me this like a few months ago. He said, I remember when you turned 7 and you just entirely changed. You started conforming, and I could just see like your little sparks of magic were a little dull, and you were less like intuitive and sure of yourself. So I believe he says when I was 7, so I'm just going to go with that number. When I was 7, pretty much to like, I mean, I would say at least through junior high, at least through my first 2 years of high school, I was very out of touch with myself. And I don't even know who she was, whatever Sophia was at that point.
Yeah.
Wishing her well, sending her love, because she just wanted to be accepted, as we all do at that time. You just want to be liked and stuff. So
absolutely,
there's so much people pleasing behavior, and codependency. It was not good. So I was so not in tune, and I think I started to think that anxieties I were having were my gut feelings. And I know people always bring this relationship up, like, well, I don't know if it's my intuition or if it's anxiety, and I don't know how to distinguish between the two. So for me, honestly, the biggest things that have helped were breath work, because it brings you into that higher state of consciousness and realizing, okay, what am I? I'm not my thoughts, and having to realize I am not my thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. And even if you say just something like, I am sad. So I just had the thought, I am sad right now, but like, I'm not sad right now. And there's something, you exist, separate from your thoughts, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
It's something that I've had to really lovingly listen to, retrain, I'll say, myself to listen to my gut instead of listen to my thoughts, because I know your brain just wants to protect you and keep you safe. But if I believed everything my thoughts told me, oh my God, would I have created so many fights with friends that were unnecessary? Would I have created so many issues? So I'm always like, thank God I didn't listen to that little anxious voice in my head, because she really was just going to the worst possible outcome.
Sure.
And I think journaling for me, because when you're actively writing something down, you're moving it out and you're getting the thought out on a piece of paper, and then you can view it separately. So it doesn't live inside your head. It now is existing externally on a piece of paper. And you can look at it and then say, okay, does this resonate with me? Yes or no? And do I need to dive deeper into this? And then just kind of build off of that. Even if you feel in the moment, like, I do not feel intuitive at all today. I don't feel my inner voice.
Yeah.
I don't know what that feels like. And you just begin to work with that sensation. That helps a lot too. And then this is going to sound funny, which it's like a whole other separate thing. But honestly, developing your relationship with your inner child, in my opinion, is like hands down probably the best thing you could do with your intuition. And starting to say, you can always visualize yourself at any age as a child. Maybe you need it at 3 years old, maybe you need it at 12, whatever it is. And you can always visualize yourself in front of you and say, you know, what do you need to hear? What did you not get at that age as a kid? You know, like, you are loved, you are supported, your feelings are valid. That's been the biggest thing, because I think so many kids grow up hearing, like, stop being so sensitive. Stop, that's not true. Stop doing this, stop doing that, stop doing this. Your dreams, oh, that's cute. Those are your little kid dreams, but those aren't realistic. And trust me, I've heard that a million times. I mean, I'm pursuing music. It's like the worst dream anyone could have, honestly. Sometimes I'm like, why the hell did I wake up with this one? But it's just, I would be so miserable if I wasn't trying. And until the day I go, I will literally be doing music in some way. I'll figure it out. So I just think really learning to listen to your inner child and building that relationship and cultivating, like, okay, what was going on at this time? Like, what were the emotions you were feeling, experiencing? What were you figuring out about your environment? That is huge. And that builds the relationship with your intuition, with yourself. And then it also brings you to a sense of inner peace. I mean, it takes a long way to get there. Inner child work is really tough to do because, being a child is very traumatic. So a lot of things can happen. So that's why I don't recommend people just be like, all right, jump into it, with anything. And then be like, oh, this is going to be like a 1 week point in my life. And then I'm going to be cured. I'm like, no, it's pretty much a forever thing.
It's a lifelong.
It's a lifelong journey. But if you begin that work, I mean, it's just the power that it has to shift you in every single area of your life. It's worth it. I'll just say that it's worth it.
You just blew my mind 12 times over. I'm so excited to listen back to this chat, because I'm gonna I have so many things I want to do. Just hearing you say that, I have so many thoughts. I got emotional when you were talking about talking to your inner child, when you're what I've heard tapping into that, and I was like, yeah, I loved you're watching Lizzie McGuire, and I was like, yeah, painting, but I'd never before kind of heard that whole what did you need at age 8, at age 12, and I was like, I need a lot of things, and there's this poem I remember reading in middle school or something, and it was, I don't remember the poem, but it was something having to do with yes, so I'm 22 right now. She's like, yes, you're 22, but you're also 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. And those things are still inside of you. Just because you're now 22 doesn't mean those things don't exist. It was something to that premise.
Snaps.
And I literally, when you were speaking to me, I was like, okay, I want to journal. I want to go through every year of my life. And I just want to be what was going on? What was I thinking? Kind of tap back into that. And I personally have a really bad memory of my childhood, and I've always kind of wondered, did something happen and I'm closing doors there, or is that just me not having a great memory, and is that just life? But I really, really resonated with that, because I think that's beautiful, and I love how you worded kind of the intention of journaling too, because the only time I journal is when I'm pissed or depressed. There's just that's it. And I don't journal often even in those moments, because what I kind of found for myself was I'm thinking too fast. Like I can't keep up. Like this is too slow for me. Like I'd rather speak it out because I can stream of consciousness it. And when I'm writing it, it's just too slow for me. But you're like, no, you're not your thoughts and you need to examine those things. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. When you read, you're not actively analyzing, you're feeling, right? You're imagining and you can go back and analyze it. But when I read things the first time through, I'm just experiencing. And I was like, wow, it's so true. Like I need to tap into that, like feel the intuition rather than listen to it, because there's nothing to listen to your intuition. That's the thought.
And if you just even have like a blank page and you just say, write whatever you're feeling, write what you smell. If you feel, people are like, if you feel a breeze on your face, I mean, sure, whatever you feel, but you're at least tapping into your senses when you're doing that. And I'm a huge believer in that. I started a journal company last year with my friend. It was called Blooms, and it sadly is done. But I am going to be doing journals for Heal Your Shit. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, I'm excited. But yeah, basically, I'm just a huge advocate of journaling because I know not everyone's ready for meditation, and I'm absolutely never going to push anyone to do anything that they're not ready for, because it's not going to be a good outcome. There's certain things that it's like, okay, I'm ready, but I'm scared. That's, you just need to step out of your comfort zone maybe a little bit. But if you're like, no, I'm fully not ready, I am like deeply afraid, I would never push anyone to do anything. So journaling is safe. But so incredibly powerful. So that's why I would always say for people to just kind of begin there.
I love that. That's just so true. That's just truth. How do you allow yourself to surrender?
It's going to sound a bit cheesy.
I love it.
Honestly, whatever works for you. Who cares? People are going to judge you, whatever you do and whatever you say. So find what works for you and just do it. But I honestly write down affirmations, like every single morning, sometimes at night. If it's the morning and I forgot and it's afternoon, I do it, great. But I'll always kind of write or say out loud, I surrender expectations, I surrender control. Just saying affirmations like that helps me a lot. And then I do a little bit of breath work as well, just because it sounds weird, but I will imagine whatever situation that I'm trying to desperately cling on to, and I'm trying to control the outcome, whatever it is. And then I'll just kind of give it a color. Normally I'll give it like a gray color, and I'll see myself breathing that color out on every single exhale, and just like breathing that situation, getting it the hell out of my body, out of my apartment, out of this earth. Like I just see it floating up and just getting out. And it sounds like, okay, what kind of woo-woo is that? But it's seriously, I'm a really big visualizer. So when I visualize something moving through my body and it's a situation and I give it that color and I'm moving it out, it helps so much. And like I said, I'm all for the affirmations. Even like, I don't think I have any over here, but I have it in like my bathroom mirror. Even like I write like, I am enough in huge pink lipstick across my mirror. I'm all for affirmations and like surrounding yourself with them as much as you can. So I think I surrender control, I surrender expectations is huge to be saying at least every single day during this time.
I've been trying to get into affirmations. I like the idea of them. I think a lot of times I just like don't even know what to affirm. If that makes sense. I'm just so like, how do you put this into 3 or 4 words? Like, I don't even know what to say. And I literally started to have like a little mirror here, and I literally put, I am capable, I'm confident, because I was like 2 of the things I was like working, or I'm still working on, obviously.
Those are perfect.
But it's always been like a self-empowerment thing. And I've never thought of affirmations as like also like a release. And I like that. I think that's really freeing and empowering in itself.
Yeah, this is going to sound a bit funny as well. I'll do this during full moons, but sometimes I'll do it when I have an issue with really like surrendering something, and
Mm.
really like letting go of something from the past as well. Is I'll write it all out and get all the thoughts that I possibly can get out on a piece of paper, and then I light that baby on fire and just watch it burn up.
I love
And
that.
obviously be extremely safe when you're doing that. But it's
Especially
just
in this
like,
environment.
yeah. So maybe like not right now. But I always like put it in like a little plate in my apartment, and then I have like it in the sink. So if anything goes wrong, it's like, okay,
It's safe. Yeah.
I can turn it on. But it just is like, it's very cathartic, honestly. And it really just makes me realize again, like, even if I'm trying so desperately to like plan out X, Y, and Z and have every little thing, under control, I don't know. I wasn't made to live life that way. And it's just been a whole lot easier when I just surrender to whatever is coming up. Even if something absolutely, you know, just messed up has happened, terrible. Like I've had just a lot of shit the last few years that I really was like, damn, like my entire world just got rocked and I'm never going to be the same. And I'm still working on letting go of a lot of, images, realities that I created in my head that can no longer be true, sadly. And it is what it is. It's so hard. I'm making it sound like, oh my God, yeah, just do this and this and this. It's not that at all. And it's an ongoing process. So if you need to burn that paper 20 times, then just be safe, but burn it as many times as you want to.
Yeah. It's that's the thing. Like, I love how you call it like hard shit, because it is. It's not easy. And I think and I keep I've said this before on the podcast, but I think that's why so many of us, and I know for myself especially, like, I'm such a perfectionist, and this is one of the things you can't do perfectly. Healing is not a perfect process. That just what goes against healing in itself. That's just against the very nature of healing. So for me, like, have you ever heard of that thing where like the biggest procrastinators are those who believe they can't get it perfectly kind of done?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I literally procrastinate healing because I know I'm always like, okay, I need to be isolated in an Airbnb by the beach, and I need to, I always like kind of put it off, and I who knows when that's going to happen? Like I can't afford an Airbnb right now by the beach. I wish I could, but I need to heal before then, like I don't want to experience the bad shit for that long.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it is a repetition of it, and recognizing like, okay, it's not a one and done. It's like it truly is a lifelong, I mean, it's just an eternity process. I think there's just so much to be discovered. And as soon as you figure something out, life gives you something else to figure out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, completely. And I think I love what you said, because some people do get like that. They're like, oh, well, I'm only going to start meditating. Like, I want to go on like a retreat first.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to like, not have my phone. I want to do this. And I'm like, oh, you're procrastinating. You're putting it off. But I never say that. Yeah, I never say that. I'm just like, okay. I just lovingly am like, oh, I get it. Because I do that with other things. I'm notorious for like romantic relationships. I'm like, oh, no. Like, I can't pursue that guy until like I have like a million streams or something like that. Like something like, I'm like, what does this even have to do? Like, what does this have to do with like just literally like texting a guy? But I'm like, no. And all it is it's fear. At the end of the day, it's literally just comes back to fear. And then like what's underneath fear, it's just this like, I really believe that underneath fear is love, and like really just like having love for yourself and wanting to do everything that you think, is the right way. But it's okay. It just have to be like, you know what? I have to fail. It can't be perfect. I saw something, I believe it was this week, saying when a project is at 85% and you keep not getting past 85%, just submit it, put it out into the world, do whatever it is, because that other 15% probably was you just being like, I mean, it was nothing. The project was already done, but that 15% was just you convincing yourself, no, 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 no.
Oh,
So just surrendering to that.
just trusting. Yeah, I think, I don't know your relationship with, like you mentioned, you've been through, I mean, everyone's been through shit throughout their lives and stuff. And I also kind of had my like big low in life so far last year. And it really made me distrustful of like the universe. And I was like, how could you, like, you did this to me, like, this is why I don't trust you, like I did this thing and now I feel like this, and now like fuck you, basically, right? And then I look back at it like a year and a half later and I'm like, oh, okay, like, yeah, that sucked, but like I needed that. Like I needed that wake up call. I needed to learn those lessons. I'm still learning those lessons. I'm still like unpacking and uncovering whatever the fuck that was. But I'm like, okay, like even the moments where it feels like you don't have my back, like in the long run, something's going on. I just, there's this, oh my gosh, there's this book. It's, The Alchemist.
Of course. That's like everyone's like
go-to
first kind of like book, yes.
I'm actually reading it for the first time right now, but before I read this book, I read from the same author, Paulo Coelho, I can't say it correctly, but by the River Piedra, I had sat and wept. And I found it at Powell's bookstore, secondhand in Portland. Like it was just one of those like moments. And I remember I saw it and I opened the front cover and it was like someone had gotten it as a gift and they wrote a letter to that person in the like inside covering. And it said something like, the universe is working for you, even if it looks like chaos. And I was like, I need to buy this immediately. And that's just like something that sat with me, is like, even the moments that feel like it's chaos and that it's the uncertainty, right? It's like, who knows what the, like with everything going on, if it a lot of us, I think like if it weren't for this quarantine, BLM has been something going on for years now, right? Oh, all of a sudden we're all like, there's this extra, attention to it. And I'm definitely a victim of that. Like I, have tried to be an ally all these years and now I'm like, holy shit, there's so much more I could be doing. Like, and if it weren't for this, it looks like chaos and I think it is chaos and it's scary, but I think I'm like, okay, this is like the moment we needed. This all needs to happen. And with this, like one day we're going to look back and be like, yeah, that needed to happen for the growth, for like the lesson and the experience and the better, or at least that's how I like to see it.
Completely. I mean, there's been so many moments where I'm like, really? Like, what? I'm like, and I'm just like, come on. Like, I work with you all the time. Like, why are we doing this? And it's always been, like I had to go on some like very deep, intense journey. My biggest issue, and I'll just briefly go off on this, and I still have a lot of anger with this, is I've, sadly lost like a few friends over pretty much like the last like 9 years. And I get really mad about that. I get really mad about, my friends not being able to like fully live out the dreams that I know that they had. And, whatever the cause was, like I get really upset about that stuff. And like, next week I'm coming up on the 2 years of like my dear, dear, dear friend Pat's passing. And that has just been something that still is like, it's so hard in my heart. And I was with his mom yesterday and I have just such a beautiful, beautiful connection with her. I love her so incredibly much. And it's, I still just get so upset being like, how could this happen? And this like amazing family lose this, son, this brother. And so I get really upset about that all the time. And then I know that I always, will just kind of like pray to the universe, talk to the universe, journal. And, sometimes like if I'm outside, like a butterfly will come by at that point and I'm like, okay, that's like, maybe that's Pat, maybe that's like, someone in the universe just being like, it's okay.
Yeah.
So and it's hard because I have gone there when I've been obsessing over why things have happened like that. And, is there any way some little thing could have changed the outcome? Like if XYZ was 5 seconds later, like it already happened. So I'm so notorious for like wanting to somehow like go back in the past and wanting to change it. Can't happen, baby girl. I have to say that all the time to myself. So, even yesterday I went to the ocean later in the evening and I just kept imagining the past floating out to the sea and just realizing like, okay, like everything that I can't change and can't control, I'm just like letting it float out to sea now. And then like everything new that's coming in is, washing up on the beach right now and like going over my feet. So it's so hard. It's so, so, so hard. The people that would say like, and like everything happens for a reason, da, da, da. Like I totally believe it, but it's like, sometimes you just want to punch those people, honestly.
I say it to myself when I want to punch myself sometimes.
Yeah. I'm like, really? Why did this have to happen? So it's hard. It's so, so, so incredibly hard. But that's where self-love comes in, because you just got to give yourself all the love that you can.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you and your wisdom and that perspective, because the moments where I feel like I have it figured out, and then there are moments where I'm like, I know nothing. And then I look to people like you who are like, okay, I might know a little bit more, and, let me impart my wisdom. And I really appreciate you and you're sharing that energy and knowledge with me.
I don't know what I know, but thanks for saying that.
Something.
You're so sweet.
I definitely have a lot of we all know nothing, we all know everything. We all know nothing.
Honestly, surrendering to none of us knowing anything has actually been the best thing I could say to myself during this quarantine as well, too. I'm like, what do I know? I know nothing. I'm like, that's it.
Nobody does. That's just, there are some things that are just the facts of the world. Like nothing's true except for a few things. And I feel like truth doesn't exist, and that's the truth, And that's just how life be sometimes. And you're just going to have to go with it.
Multiple truths. It's just so hard. So just take a deep breath and just go, okay. So I just, okay.
It's fine. Beautiful. So kind of with that, I know I love you and your dedication to manifestation. So I would love to hear if there's something that you want to manifest for the moment.
I want to manifest good health for Mama Earth, our planet, because obviously all of us are on it. And I want to obviously manifest, I wish I could just manifest good health for every single being on this earth right now. Because obviously we're in a pandemic. It's a virus that is, attacking us, but there's so many other things going on at the same time. And I just really wish that everyone is surrounded by love and knows that they're loved and knows that, like they're worthy. That's the biggest thing. If I could just like say to everyone that they're worthy, if I had a big megaphone that could reach just the whole earth, and then it could, translate in every single language and dialect, that like you are worthy, you are loved, like you mean something, like that's just what I would want to say, because I think so many people right now are just, it's just so full of like, well, my life matters and yours doesn't, and da 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 and stuff, and just the privilege and just, the racism, the bigotry, everything that's being expressed, like no one, I don't know. It just, for me, again, like no one knows anything, but I just wish that people, especially the ones who are being told that they don't matter, like they're the ones that need to be, having their voices amplified, and they need to be uplifted. And even like the homeless issue, people experiencing homelessness right now is unbelievable what I'm seeing. And just the influx, even just in LA, from the few little areas that I've driven around is really sad, because I just feel like the second, I mean, you see it in cars. People, they walk up to the car and it's like, people are like, oh, you do not exist. I'm just staring right at the road. I'm not staring at you. And that kills me. Like, just then I always think like, that person was a baby. That person like was a kid. They grew up, everything. And then at what point did someone or something or society just say like, you don't matter anymore?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm manifesting. I'm like, oh gosh, just like a nice blanket of I don't want to say warmth, because there's a heat wave and fires. So I want to be very specific and intentional, but like manifesting, let's just say like overall health, inner peace and outer peace, like for Mama Earth, but like every being on this planet.
Amen.
I know that's a big manifestation, but I'm like, you know what?
We can do it.
Why not go
We
big?
can have voices here listening with us. Like, we can all manifest that together. And
why not go big?
Go big. Go big. I want to like add all the energy to that. I absolutely agree. And it's just so, I don't know. It's so much sometimes. And I'm just very, 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 very grateful to be privileged in so many aspects of my life. Yeah, I just want to like amplify your manifestation 100%. And I just want to, I don't know, I feel like there's something waking up right now. Something's happening, right? Like, I just feel like there's this whole community like that is humans going around the world. And I just really would love to manifest just like an ounce for every being on this earth, just to have an ounce more of like a raised consciousness, just to bring us closer to that raised, higher, more understanding, more empathetic consciousness. Because I really do think, you know, we've come so far away from what I think this life and this world is meant to be. I think we're all one. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it is. I'm still trying to figure out that answer. I don't know what it is or what happened that just divided all of us throughout all these years and centuries and such. But whatever that is, I just want to manifest just an ounce closer to that oneness again.
I love that.
So that's cool.
So we're both going pretty big.
I think with everything going on, I think that chat, I think I need to believe in the big sometimes, because the small just doesn't feel like enough right now.
Do I get that? I totally understand that.
But thank you for contributing your energy, for allowing me to experience a more raised consciousness just through this chat, but also just in life overall. I would highly recommend everyone listening, go follow Phia on Instagram. Like, I did like a whole cleanse of like people of like who I wanted to follow or not. And you're one of the people that I'm like, this is adding good to my feed. Like, social media is positive because of like accounts like you. So
oh gosh,
thank you.
So nice. Thank you.
Just speaking the truth. Go check out her music. She has a beautiful voice, and just everything you do is just so beautiful and adds the goodness to the world we need. But yeah, thank you so much for chatting with me, Phia. It's always just such a pleasure to chat with you, and I always want to chat with you more whenever I do see your soul. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on. And I'm so excited about you doing this as well, too. It just seems so aligned, and you just look so radiant and everything through the computer screen.
Through the Zoom.
Yeah, through the Zoom. But thank you so much for having me on, and, you know, every single question that you asked me as well, too. So I love talking about this. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm really excited to listen to this one back. It's going to be
me too.
Me violently like taking down notes and like making like plans for things I want to do and stuff. So I'm really excited. But wishing you much health and love and happiness and any good in this time. And I'll hopefully chat with you soon.
Yes, sending you so much love and doing that inner child work. Even if it's just visualizing yourself and giving yourself a hug, that's it.
Phia, I'm going to call you in a few weeks, like crying. I'm like, I'm not okay. And you're going to be like, You're okay. It's
You're
okay.
okay. Yeah. Oh.
That's going to be great. I'm terrified, but I feel really called to do that once you said that. So
Whenever you feel called to it, don't push yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy couple weeks, but okay.
You're like, in 2 months, I will revisit this.
When I can get my Airbnb by the beach.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
And there's no fires.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait. All right, but thanks so much. Sending you much love and chat with you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
I decide to enjoy.
Soul Chats is created and produced by me, Catherine Kalu. Branding and design is completed by Tracy Keller. Theme music is Buen Camino by Miss Brightsea. Be sure to check out and support these fellow creatives by visiting my website, soulchatsbycatherine.com. While you're there, be sure to also check out episode notes, which include some questions brought up during today's episode to keep in mind for the week, as well as our guest links if you'd like to follow them and get to know them a bit more. You can also find links to the show's social media platforms where you can keep up with what Soul Chats is doing next and connect with our community. And of course, please do not forget to subscribe to Soul Chats wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, thanks so much, friends. I'll see you next week.